All right, it is that time once again. Let's hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish, spouting the headgear there, getting ready for the college football playoffs. And might be a chance for Michigan not only to win a playoff game, but a legitimate shot at winning it all for the Wolverines. Before I get into that, though, remember, Hit the Books on the Hammer Betting Network is powered by Circa Sports. You can bet like the pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. It's Circa Sports. Experience big app bets with the highest betting limits, better money line splits with the lowest hold percentage, the best customer service, and more. It's sports betting on the go. It's never been better. Now you can download, fund, bet like a pro from anywhere in Nevada. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com. Knish, love the hat. I mean, unbelievable. Love the headgear.
Big Ten champions, baby. I'm ready to get out. Hey, let me out there. Let me out there. Give me a shot on special teams. I'm ready out there. Jim Harbaugh, as Nick Saban has drifted into the sunset, the best coach in the country, the best program in the country. Your Michigan Wolverines, Mr. Powers. How does it feel to be seeing a new dynasty, baby? We're ready to go.
Well, you know, a dynasty that's won a half a national title since 1949.
We got another one coming up.
Yeah, and we'll see. You got to do it first, buddy. I like your chances against TCU. You know, newsflash there. I do think you'll overmatch the Horned Frogs. We'll see once it comes to championship game. You got a better chance than last year. I'll put it that way. Before we talk college football playoffs, as we always do on this show, Hit the Books, we always look back to what we just saw, any key takeaways, look at the futures markets, and then we'll talk the big Final Four here, plus some other bowl games. Plus, we'll talk some other college football news. Newsflash, transfer portal open today. And
a couple guys have jumped in there.
Yeah, just a few. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of big-name quarterbacks already in the transfer portal. Knish, though, let's go back to last weekend. You know, I'm going to start off with the Pac-12 title game last Friday night. Utah dominates USC in the second half, and I happened to be doing a live show at that time, a halftime show, and you could see it. I mean, the momentum completely changed at the end of the second quarter, and it was good night, Irene, for the Trojans and their chances to get to the playoff. A little bit missed opportunity because I would have liked SC in the playoff because I think Georgia would have absolutely annihilated them, and I think we would have gotten a decent price on that game had USC, you know, qualified. But good night as far as the playoff chances. But I still think, as far as the Heisman, because I can't even find a bet at most places, Caleb Williams, folks, is your Heisman winner still, even though he came up short and gimpy in the game last week.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think the door was open if someone would have been there to walk in the door, but there was nobody on the same block there to win the so. And listen, I think, you know, and I know Utah, you know, second half from that, but the entire USC game script, the entire season to win was Caleb Williams. And once he popped that, you know, during that that big run he had, that he just was a little gassed, but no, it looked like he pops the hammy and then he's a totally different guy. And USC with a 50% Caleb Williams is you know, a 6-win team, not a 10-11 win team. So I think you saw there that he didn't have it. He couldn't carry them in the second half, and and the defense started fading away. So, obviously, I think it plays out differently if, especially because he goes down on that run. They had a chance there to go up 21-3, be on the way, and then it all fell away from him. So, yeah, he should still win the Heisman. But I agree with you. I would have liked to see USC in the playoff instead of the team that backed in, the cowards that backed into the 4th spot. But hey, you give credit to Utah. I didn't say it for a number of this season. I thought it was a down year for this Utah team, but they won the right games. They got in, and then that second half was all them.
Absolutely. Utah is going back to the Rose Bowl back-to-back years. Very intriguing Rose Bowl. Two teams that probably want to be there for a change, unlike that program that you mentioned backdoored into the playoffs. They were too good for the Rose Bowl. They wanted to go to the Orange Bowl. Let's talk another one, Big 12 championship game. Obviously, you see quote-unquote upset, although Kansas State close favorite. I mean, it wasn't that big of an upset. Obviously, Kansas State, the sharp play. Sharp bettors get rewarded with an outright upset win. TCU finally loses a close game. Although I'll say this, I was still, I know they lost for the first time this season, but you got to give credit to TCU Max Duggan for gutting it out. I mean, they were up to the challenge there. Kansas State's a very gutty team. If you don't believe us, look at that point spread in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. I think it's more the fact that Alabama's going to be sitting out players, but still, I mean, I think for TCU to drop out, they had to get annihilated. For there even to be a question mark, I should say, the fact that they lost in overtime, obviously they're still in the playoffs. Although Sonny Dykes leaves yet another questionable decision. I mean, come on. I know the refs probably screwed them. They probably scored on that one play there with the running back.
Yeah.
Inside the 1 yard line, Max Duggan is an absolute warrior. You quarterback sneak it, man. You get somebody behind him, push him into the end zone. And I don't know why you're turning around and handing it off. I just don't get it. 2 yard line, do whatever you want. Inside the 1 yard line, no, it's quarterback sneak. So, questionable decision. I thought it was a questionable decision with the fire drill at the end of the Baylor game. He somehow overcame that. This one, he didn't. So, he's going to need that. He's going to need better decisions and more up against your Wolverines coming up on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I thought he got in on third down. You can talk about whether, hindsight 2020, on the fourth down call there. I agree. I don't know why anybody ever doesn't sneak it when it's less than a yard at any point in the field.
I know.
But, hey, I mean, as you said, they did it. This was just so many teams have fallen off the wayside in the last week or two that really it's hard to argue for them not to be 3. However, as we, just speaking here, there's our friends at Circa Sports were a little bit more bullish on TCU in the market, and now they've got the only flat 7 trading in the market. So they open lower than the market. The market was 9.5. They came in 8.5. Now, I mean, they're taking $60K. Nobody else is taking I think more than 10 or 20, and they're at a flat 7. So. I will say
flat 7. I'm betting Michigan.
I was going to say I'm about a half point away, but even I tend to agree with you. I lean Michigan now at the touchdown. But if this wants to keep going, I don't mind that. I didn't think I was going to have I thought this would trade between 7.5 and 9.5 basically the whole time until the game, but apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised by it. It's certainly, I mean, we'll talk about it right now. TCU Michigan, I think it's a lay 7, take 10. So I was okay with what it opened up at. I didn't bet it. I'm a guy who likes to bet. I like action. Did not bet the side really on TCU Michigan. Very fair number. I think my pure power rating is like 8.2. So yeah, I mean, am I running to bet 7 as we're doing the show right now? No. I mean, I'll see if there's just an extra tick out there. I know the market likes to copy, and sometimes they overcorrect themselves a little bit. So I'll see, but I'm a little surprised by it. I just don't. TCU's run defense, I don't think can hold up at the point of attack. I know Blake Corum's out, but Donovan Edwards, JJ McCarthy's playing extremely confident. I just don't see a great pathway here for TCU. I really don't. So I'm surprised at that move there. Let's talk a couple more championship games, but before we talk all these bowl games and playoff games. The other championship game, there's probably not much to talk here. SEC championship, I'll give kudos to you. You said Georgia would smash LSU. They did. LSU trying to get back into it via the airways, almost came up with a backdoor. Obviously, I thought the key play of the game being, the block right off the bat. I mean, end of the first quarter, a block field goal return for a touchdown on kind of a broken play there, a heads-up play by Georgia. And they got a nice 10 points there. And, it was a runaway from that point, at least in the first half. So Georgia, like you said, Knish, crushes the Fighting Brian Kelly's.
Yeah, and listen, I as a man that likes to be, I'm not I don't mind taking a little victory lap here and there. However, I will say this game, there was some positive variance there. If you're a Georgia better as I was, or a Georgia fan, I was surprised in this game how well Jaden Daniels win the first half, even on a bum. I think part of the cap there last week was I didn't think his ankle was going to be hurt. The first time he got hit on it, he was limping, but he was still, he was throwing darts all over the field. And then Nussmeier comes in second half, and he's throwing it all over the park. And I know LSU's got great receivers, and I was surprised how well and how questionable Georgia's just pass defense looked in that game, which might play into a little play I've already bet for one of the playoff games there. But I guess the Georgia defense surprised me a little bit that they're just general lack of. The yardage that LSU was able to rack up, on the indoor track there was surprised me a little bit with a hobbled Daniels and a backup quarterback. But LSU's defense didn't bring much to the party there in terms of getting any stops. So and as you said, that as soon as the fake field goal, you had a bad turnover by LSU, and then they were really up against it.
Certainly, not surprised. Brian Kelly in a big game, coming up short at least at the start, not ready to play. Special teams playing a role there. One more Big Ten championship game. One more championship game, I should say. Big Ten championship. Michigan. Struggles, not surprised with that. Purdue, the feisty team, gives Michigan, all they can handle as far as the point spread. And then Jim Harbaugh does what he does. At least what he's almost seems like he's aware of it now. This season, he went for the point spread instead of taking a knee. Michigan goes in, gets a touchdown. The only time they're covering at any point during the entire game is the final minute there. So I actually had bet Purdue plus 17. And I was a loser, unlike Knish, who, had his biggest bet of his life on the Wolverines. Am I correct there?
No, actually, I had some Michigan Conference futures, but I took some Purdue lot. Like, it got up to like 18.5 there live at one point. So I fired on some Purdue. I thought for 3 quarters, I thought Jeff Brom was pitching a masterclass here in terms of game planning, in terms of aggressiveness, in terms of game management. Aiden O'Connell is a Purdue team that does not have a lot of elite talent, almost none, to be honest with you. And they were rolling with Michigan, especially in the first half. And then in the fourth quarter, he starts. Some of the fourth down decisions.
Yeah.
Some of like when the game is multiple scores, they're handing it off 5 or 6 times in a row. There, like it's kind of like he went into, let's just make this. I honestly don't know, like, because he was in full on like YOLO mode for a good portion of that game, and I love that fake.
I've never seen that.
It was great. He had some great calls there. Chuck Sizzle was going, and then O'Connell I thought was playing great, but then in the second half, the defense started to get leaky, and then they just I don't know. They made some conservative decisions that I didn't. That if you really want to win the game, you don't make those decisions. You might lose by more than that, but if you want to try and win as the underdog, you've got to be more aggressive than that, and they didn't, and then they don't end up even covering after all that. So,
I will say this: it will not be the last time we talk about Mr. Brom on this show today. I'm going to give you a possible best bet.
Boiler up.
And we'll see what your reaction is to it. Maybe a little bit of inside info. So let's talk. Was there any other conference championship games? And you know what? I didn't even talk about it. Because I'm just accustomed to winning, quote unquote. Fresno State was a nice call by us, to say the least. That was one we agreed on. We came to the end of the show. It was the last conference championship game that we did, and we just so happened to have an outright easy winner, pretty much, start to finish. Didn't have to worry too much about that one. Fresno State. Was there any other conference championship games that caught your eye?
No, I thought, Fresno, we got a little bit, it was kind of a little bit of the Georgia scenario there. They were getting kind of outplayed for the first half, got a a punt return, got a big interception there. And I thought what we talked about in the cap of that one was like, could Tanner Green, could he beat you through the air? They played the RPO well, and he wasn't able to. And Boise's quarterback play wasn't able to beat you. And Haener, once, the first half he struggled a little bit, second half got warmed up, and then it was kind of smooth sailing from there. I really, I was surprised some of the Motor City Madness here. What a slogfest! Like the matching games that are like in the 70s. You got TCU, and it was just a complete 17-7. I thought it was deserved. That Ohio injury. That Curtis Rourke. They just couldn't. You can't lose a quarterback like that in the MAC, go on. I thought Ohio with Rourke was a better team. They lose him, and then they can't produce anything there. So that was a go. And what does it set up? The Motor City Bowl, baby, with Mr. Powers' Bowling Green, New Mexico State. I tell you what, I know you can't wait for that one. I heard rumors that you're flying in to be on the sideline for Bowling Green. Tickets already flying off the shelf here. Gonna be a very exciting time here, Christmas time here in Detroit.
I am flying that way, but not for that game. No. I will be in your neck of the woods come January 1st. There's a state that's opening up, and I just happen to have some friends and family in that state that we gotta get them situated. Let's just put it that way.
There you go.
As far as it counts. Obviously, it's one of the last days of college football in the year, so we'll see if we can take advantage and get after some people there in that neck of the woods. And as far as a couple other games, briefly mentioned, you mentioned the MAC. I agree with you. A little surprised it was that low scoring. Toledo, they should win the MAC almost every year based on their talent. So, I'm not that surprised in that regard. I'm just, how they get there is ridiculous. That should have been a 10 or 11 win team. Conference USA Championship game, not necessarily a big surprise there. You were on the over. Kudos to you for that one. That came home for you there. UTSA gets a win and cover. North Texas fires their coach after the game.
What? Does North Texas think to Alabama? They get to the conference title game. I thought Seth Luttrell's a guy who was lined up for the Kansas State job a few years ago, and
he was.
Fire him after he gets you to the. And I will say, I get to. I try and consume as much college football I can. I don't watch a ton of CUSA, to be honest with you. It's one of those conferences that usually doesn't make the. You're watching that game and you look at the talent and the athletes and the side UTSA has for North Texas. They don't even look like they're in the same conference. What do you want the guy to do? So yeah, I don't know. I think North Texas, they spent some money on a facility, and then now they want to be I don't know, elite, but yeah, I would have not. I'm all for changing coaches when you're out, but I did not agree with that one.
They are heading to a new conference, the American. Both programs are. Maybe they feel like they needed a change to step up. You were right. Very sharp by you. I totally agree, and that was my assessment too watching the game. UTSA looked like, it's almost like a Power 5 team playing a Group of 5 type team. A lower level Power 5, but Jeff Traylor, the head coach at UTSA, stunned that, he'll probably be there next year, but I can't imagine him being there much longer at UTSA. He's a legitimate coach, and he's recruited well. He's built a team, back-to-back Conference USA championship games.
One loss,
championship wins,
years, and it was a game they basically gave. They took a bye week before last year's conference title. So
would have went unbeaten last year.
Yeah. So what a insane job there at a program that was not before he got there was not a renowned football program.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do in the American. The American went for. Obviously loses a couple of the flagship programs there, Cincinnati, UCF. And Houston, but they welcome in some of the dregs of Conference USA. They went for major markets, but I think UTSA is very much more capable of competing in the conference than North Texas. So that's something. And you and I will be talking about this. I'll tell you, with all the conference realignment, there's some FCS schools jumping up to the FBS. This offseason is going to be something else. It's going to require – you can't flip on the script on August the 15th and say, I'm going to prep for college football for a couple weeks before the season starts. It's going to require a lot more time than that to be on the up and up. I'll put it that way. One final one for me, Sunbelt, that line, I mean, hindsight's always 2020. I mean, the market was all over Coastal because of Grayson McCall, and I guess he's the most valuable player in the history of college football, even when he's not 100% healthy. I mean, I just thought with Chadwell, 1 foot out the door, Troy, I mean, an underrated team that probably, obviously should have entered the game with 11 straight wins because they lost on a Hail Mary to App State, just defensively and just buttoned up. They're at home. They're excited. I mean, I rebet it after the move, after it crossed through 7. I just wish I bet more. I mean, it was a decent sized bet for me. I just wish it was my biggest bet of the year. I mean, it's 31-0 in the second quarter. I mean, did you get involved? Did you play some Coastal before, and be a part of that big line move, or did you play back some Troy?
Yeah, it was one of those went for the, I got a word, obviously we got some early word that McCall was going to play, so bet some Coastal, came back and some Troy. Obviously not too close to hitting the middle there as Troy absolute burial. And give him, give Troy credit. I wish we could have seen a round 2 Troy South Bama for the title instead of that, corpse of the Coastal team that was left by end of the season. And I agree
James
with you.
Madison.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, for sure. Because as you said there, like McCall definitely wasn't healthy. Chadwell out. A word on the street now is Coastal. A lot of those guys are going to be, gone. So I think a team that I'll be fading in bowl season. Even the one more trip on the Holt Nailers Express before he's in the XFL or something. So yeah, I'll be on some East Carolina there, and then that hopefully I never have to think about Holt Nailers after that. But that was one of the early bowl plays. I think this Coastal team is definitely a bowl season fade.
And full disclosure, as we're doing this show, our old friends at Circa Sports are releasing bowl lines. Market's moving. If I see some distraction along the way a little bit here, it's because I'm betting and I'm looking, because obviously the market reacts to everything they put up. And kudos to Circa, they have different opinions on games, to say the least, on a few of these. Toledo Liberty, they just opened Toledo 5. Market was that's interesting to say the least. Let's talk bowl games. Let's just start getting right into them. I mean, I'll start with the playoff games. We kind of talked Michigan TCU. I mentioned it. I would lean right now Michigan -7. Definite bet at 6.5. I'm just not sure that we're going to see it. But right now, I would say Michigan -7 at Circa. I'm not. Look, we love our people at Circa, but I'm not scared. I'll lay the 7 when the whole entire rest of the market's laying 7.5, 8. So I'm okay with that. That you gave your thoughts on that one. What I'm really interested in, though, Knish, is your thoughts on the other game. Right, one of the better, at least on paper, semifinal matchups that we've had in the college football playoff era. I'm anxious to know if you were part of the Ohio State +7 money yesterday. A lot of 7s out there. I can tell you that I am a part of that. I took +7 with the Buckeyes. That was my biggest bet yesterday, was taking +7. You're telling me I'm an idiot, right?
No, I'm with you, baby. It's hit the books double. I don't know if there might be 1 or 2 straggling 7s still out there. But for the most part, it moved to 6.5. I agree. I agree. It does look like a Yovada on the strip might have a 7 still, depending on where you shop. But I mean, listen, in a vacuum, let's go back to the last week of the regular season before Ohio State, gets plays. What is Ohio State, Georgia on a neutral before the Michigan-Ohio State game? 3.5, at most 4. And now, and again, I just like some of the fact, like Ohio State getting embarrassed at home. I kind of like that like it's a program that under Ryan Day and gets a little bit of big in their britch. I think there was maybe a little bit. It just needed something like that to kind of refocus everybody. And it's a Georgia team that we just saw indoor track against a team that has an elite wide receiver unit, not even as good as the wide receiver unit that they're about to play here in the Buckeyes. tossed it all over the place with a quarterback that's not as good as the one that they're about to play in C.J. Stroud. So I think this Georgia team can be passed on. I like getting Ohio State here after getting the home loss and embarrassment. I think they're live. I think they're live here. I don't know if Georgia's off, it'll be interesting to see what Jim Knowles does. That to me is the what can Ohio State do on defense. They've got some pass rushers that should be able to get after Benson. Yeah, I like +7 -120. I think it's fine. I think this is one that closes 5.5. I thought 5.5 was a better line. Gladly took the touchdown,
Agree.
and I would expect this to keep coming down a bit.
You think it will?
I would say, to me, I think 5.5 or 6, could be the closer there. Again, I actually didn't expect to see, a flat 7 110. So was happy to see that. And I think you can't get focused on the Michigan. I mean, Michigan has made that game their priority for 2 years straight, has specific matchups, specific stuff they hold back for that game, and a lot of stuff that wasn't on tape. I don't, to me, it made Ohio State look significantly worse than they actually are. And I just, again, you're getting a line that after one result is now 3-4 points higher than it would have been, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I agree with you. Buckeyes at 7 was the play.
Absolutely. And let's, obviously it was a bad final score against Michigan, but in a game that's that bad, they were still up at halftime, Ohio State. And it really got away from them in the final 10 minutes, really, of the game. So I agree with you there. Any thoughts? First, I'll go to Trip. And I also want to know if you did this. I did as well. Ohio State, 20-1 after they lost to Michigan. Did you take part in that? I mean, I have 12-1, 14-1, 20-1, 5-1 preseason. So I hate to do this to you, Knish, but I am a Buckeye fan. The next couple of games.
I had I bet some early, like 8-1 that was out there early, and a lot of it preseason. So yep. I wasn't exactly looking to add too much exposure to a team that might have not even made it. But I agree. I know so. There was, I think, Caesars at one point came back at 50 after the Michigan loss. So
50?
Yeah, I think they was for a moment there. I think after the Michigan right after they were 50, and then there's some 25 and 20. As you said, you got some teens. So yeah, that obviously looks very, and I agree with you. I think they're live. I think they're live to win this game. So talent, roster to roster, they're not much different between Ohio State and Georgia. So. Yeah, I think obviously a great bet there if you got it. And then I think they can win it. I mean, listen, I know people are going to be down on them after one performance, but they obviously got the talent to win it all, and now coming off the salty, and I think we could see an all Big Ten natty rematch.
That would be. I'd be anxious to see what the ratings would be for Ohio State Michigan national championship. Total thoughts. Did you go over the total? I like the over in the Ohio State Georgia game. I still question Ohio State's defense. I mean, Michigan's run on them. I think Georgia can run on them. And we saw, Penn State even have success on Ohio State's defense. But then also, I think Ohio State's pass offense is going to get after Georgia a little bit. We just saw LSU do that. I know Georgia shut down Tennessee. I'm here to tell you, Ohio State's a little bit better than Tennessee as far as athletes. They just are. I know Tennessee's statistically had a very good offense. I think Ohio State's a little bit better. So did you bet the over? That's certainly where I lean.
Yep. Bet some early over number there. The number we can start. Yeah, it obviously rode up a little bit, got away. But I agree with you. Like the over there. I actually played some under in the other game too. I know we talked about Michigan, but I played some 60.5. I still think 60's okay. I know Circa was shaded a little bit lower, 58.5. I thought 57.5 was the right number in that game. So I played. So I missed. Westgate had 61 for one, but I wasn't able to get it before it went down. So played some 60.5 under. I think 60's still okay. So I agree with you. Over in the Ohio State game, under in the Michigan game.
Fair enough. Another interesting line, Circa Sports just released South Alabama 9 over Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's quarterback in the transfer portal I'm not sure he's worth that much, but also the total is down to 55. There were some 64 and a halves out there, even just a few hours ago on the total. Now it's down to 55. So we'll be talking that throughout bowl season. Some of these unbelievable line moves, especially with the market reacting to what Circa's posting. I'll put it that way. Before we talk other bowls, Kyle Estrada in the comments. General thoughts on Deion Sanders to Colorado?
I know you are Coach Prime.
Well, I mean, look, it can't get any worse, man. Do I expect it to end well? Probably not, to be honest with you. I mean, it probably won't. It probably won't live up to the expectations that people are putting on it. But with that being said, how can it get worse? I mean, Colorado as a power rating this year is as bad as I've ever power rated any Power 5 team in the last decade. Maybe a Kansas team or two is the only comparison as far as bottom level Power 5 teams. So again, he's going to bring in some talent. I already think it's a win because we're talking Colorado football right now. I mean, if it's not for Deion Sanders, we're not talking Colorado football. I'm sure they'll get some national TV audiences. So, I mean, I don't know how you can't grade that as a win. I mean, in today's day and age where perception is reality, I mean, and all the publicity that's going on right now, I mean, it's a good hire for Colorado. What's your thoughts?
I can't believe you took I thought this whole when Feldman tweeted that, I thought the whole it was basically just one big leverage play where he was gonna wait for another job or try and get some more money out of somebody else. But no, he's there and it's good. So I gotta say I'm surprised. I agree with you. They're like bottom of the barrel, bottom basement, as low as you can go right now. So at worst case, he's going to bring in some talent. I mean, I think you'll see, obviously, his sons follow him there. That Travis Hunter kid they got, the 5-star from Jackson State, he'll probably follow. I know a couple of other big-time recruits are already talking about. So,
yeah.
And you talk about USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12. It opens the door a little bit for I mean, there's no reason that Colorado football should be like this level of bad. I mean, it's a team that in the 90s and that. I'm not saying they can get back to like Cordell Stewart or whatever, but it's a team that has no business being at like the absolute basement of Power 5 college football. So yeah, I think I mean, that'll be a fascinating regular season win total next year. I wouldn't want to be making that number of what they'll have to see because as you said, I mean, the guy can sell freaking snow to an Eskimo with and he's got the Barstool thing going with a little bit. He's got his own camera crew. The man knows how to market himself, no doubt. So they'll get some talent and in a softer Pac-12 coming up. Who knows?
Schedule, as Tripp mentioned, Colorado at TCU next season. Colorado also plays Nebraska. That'll be a very interesting game with a pair of new head coaches there. So it probably won't be an easy schedule. But, I mean, you're going to see a significant talent upgrade there for the Buffs. One other coach, might as well get into it. And I might even do this right off the bat as far as the best bet. Ethan Thomason in the chat, Brom to Louisville. That's what I'm hearing. Are you hearing that? And it also makes sense because – if you're paying attention to college football, Louisville has, backdoored this really good recruiting class. And I'm like, how are they signing this really good recruiting class when it looks like Satterfield at the time was going to get canned? We didn't know he was obviously going to leave for another job, but we thought he might get fired midseason. And yet they're bringing in all these recruits. I think it's been done for several months now, Brom to Louisville. I think, why would he leave Purdue? I mean, obviously money. I think he can go from $6 million a year to maybe $10 million a year at Louisville. Are you hearing the same thing?
Yeah, the birds are chirping there. And you know what? I thought when this job opened up last time, before Satterfield took it, I thought Brom was going to take it. And listen, to me, he gets Purdue to the Big Ten West Championship, Purdue football, and you look at how he did it with the team. I mean, we've talked about when we were capping that game, the lack of just talent on that team to be able to get in there. I think that's the 8-4. A championship berth. That is the ceiling for Purdue football. And now you're going to, the Big Ten might get rid of divisions. You got UCLA. To me, strike while the iron's hot, goes home. I agree. It makes a lot of sense. Because I just don't know what else you can really accomplish there at Purdue. And he had a couple of down seasons. He was taught in coaching, you got to strike when your name is
Yeah.
hot. You got to go and get the money, because there was earlier in the year when they were starting at a little bit of a lull in form. You're like, this guy getting it fired. So yeah, I mean, that to me, it seems like the right time for him to go and take that job. And I think that probably is gonna correlate and parlay you into a game that I'm just on the surface, like, the talent disparity between Purdue and LSU is significant.
So best bet for me, and if you agree, we'll mark it here. I'm taking LSU minus 6.5. Talent disparity. If Braum leaves, it's going to blow to at least 7, in my opinion. LSU needs to win. They can't finish the season on a 3 straight game losing streak. They're in year 1 of a coach. I don't expect a lot of player opt-outs for LSU. We'll see Jane Daniels' injury situation. I mean, Nussmeier played well in the second half. He's throwing all over the field. Again, it mainly comes down to, I already wanted to bet it. I mean, if all things were created equal and Braum's, everybody's playing, Braum's coaching, Kelly's coaching, I'm still going to bet LSU minus 6.5. Now with maybe Braum off to Louisville and some other things, I mean, that's why it's a best bet for me. Do you agree?
Yep, no, totally. I'm with you. When I saw that line, like 5, I'm like, oh my God, if this was, it's one of those where, like, if it wasn't a bowl game and you saw that everybody hypothetically was playing for both teams, it's a line that I thought it should be like in double digits, just 11. You could tell me, 11 and a half, or more than that, maybe even like Purdue team is just a team that cannot even. And I mean, we've seen. I will never forget the second half of like Ed Orgeron's last year at LSU, when like half of the LSU team was either injured or sitting out or something. They're still beating the depth and talent that LSU has, that they have in that program. And even for Brian Kelly to come in first year and, get one transfer portal quarterback, a couple of players, and like they're winning, they're beating Alabama and they're winning the division. Yeah, even if you get, this is a game that even if you get some LSU opt-outs, which I'm sure you will, still like it. Still think there's a massive talent disparity. Still, if Jane Daniels doesn't play, still fine with Nussmeier. Agree with you there. Under a touchdown. Don't think it'll last.
It's not. Breaking news. I mean, with the power of the Hammer Betting Network, the power of Knish rubber stamping it for Brad Powers. I mean, Bet Online went to 7.5. I mean, like that. So
I would expect as like the Circa, Metcalf likes to take his time with these here, but
I think he will. So
as he gets down to the lower end of the rotation here, I would be surprised if that was under a touchdown at Circa.
That's why I might sneak another one in here before he's releasing, because he is releasing towards the sides that are sharper. I'll put it that way at Circa. So by the time the end of the show gets around, we might not have very many best bets, at least for what we know now. So I'm glad we got that one in. Want to talk a couple more, and I'll even open the floor. Was there any bowl lines out there that jumped out to you that you were betting yesterday immediately?
Yeah, I mean, there was, depending on what you had. I mean, a lot of these weren't widely available, so I was trying to, get to the, some of I'm calling, Phillips fan, cousin in Canada to get down to some of these places. So obviously wasn't able to get down a ton of money on some of these. But yeah, there was a few that popped out. In terms of what's current, I will say, all
right,
I can't. I know if Caleb Williams played and USC was full go, would the line be obviously higher than 2.5? I don't think he's going to play. I don't think I don't think Voorhees, I don't think Addison, I don't think any of those USC guys that are NFL guys are going to play in this game. And it's a USC team that, unlike LSU, they were a team that had like zero depth to spare when they had any injuries. So I don't think Caleb Williams is going to play. I would be surprised if any of those guys, and they're not a team, like, it wasn't a team that was recruiting at a very high level before Riley. He brought in a ton of transfers, and I'm sure they'll bring in a ton more for next year. But right now in this game, it's a USC team that I think will be down a number of guys, not having a ton of talent to back up with them with. And you talk about a difference in, like, who wants to be there and who doesn't, who motivation and not. And matchup-wise, what does Tulane do? I know the AAC isn't exactly, the air raid conference, but good pass defense, and they run the ball. what does USC not do? Matches up with that. USC wants to throw it around, and they can't stop the run. So I like the matchup for Tulane, and it's one that I'm going to get. When Riley said significant hamstring injury for Caleb Williams, to me, that's setting the table, the narrative for him not to play in the game, even if he could probably go at 50, 60, 70%, after a few weeks off. Why are you going to play him in this glorified scrimmage that without all your NFL talent on offense? So I like Tulane.
Here's my only worry. I'm hearing whispers of Michael Pratt in the transfer portal.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah, nothing concrete yet, but I've read several different people that I trust that is a possibility. So that would be my only pushback there.
Nope, I hear you. If that happens, I don't know who's coming off the pine for Tulane there for the depth of that.
Yeah. But they did beat Houston with a third-string quarterback. I remember watching that Friday night game. So, that's it. I mean, and also I wonder if somebody pops a 3. I would like to get +3 again. I know it was there yesterday. Guys like yourself were probably betting Tulane left and right yesterday as those books were opening up. That would be it. But if you still want to rubber stamp it, I'm okay with it because, I mean, once Caleb Williams gets announced out, Tulane's probably going to a close favorite. If Pratt doesn't go to the transfer portal, decides to play in the game, and Caleb Williams is out, Tulane closes favorite. So I agree with you in that regard.
So, that's another, as we're giving people advice on bowl season.
It's pretty tough right now.
It's just the information trading. If you're not somebody that, is sitting in front of the screen for a while or has a lot, it's tough. Probably go, some of this early stuff you don't want to, even some of the games that I'm betting, unless I'm feeling super, super confident in either info or that the line is significantly off, I'm not getting down, normally too much more than, a couple dimes on some of these, just because you listen, if I walk away for an hour and then somebody's hits the portal, you come back and now I'm 3 points to the bad. So it's quite the information trading time of the year,
to say the least. And that goes to Alex told us to mention some of the lines that could see significant movement, like last year, like the Kansas State LSU game. I'm here to tell you this year, all of them could see. I wouldn't be surprised any of the games moves 3, 4, 5, 6 points if it's the total. I mean, everything is on the table this year. I mean, it would not surprise me. Any starting quarterback opts out, coaching staffs. I mean, we already saw one. We're mentioning Braum. I mean, hell, Louisville and Cincinnati are playing each other, and we got a Louisville coach jumping over to being the Cincinnati head coach. So that was a little bit surprising today. So everything's on the table. You mentioned it. What am I betting? I mean, I'm not afraid to make bets, but I also know full well I could be betting the other side in any of these games. So just because I like it right now with the current information doesn't mean that that's going to be my strongest position on that particular game. So it is. Look, we're winding down the season, but it probably still requires 3 more weeks of sitting in front of a computer 16 hours a day to make sure that you're not taking the worst of any of this stuff, because it can break quick. One thing, Patrick Burns in the comments, will Tulane need to throw a pass to beat USC? I do like Tajay Spears, man, and he's going to have, if you're into fantasy, he's going to have a pretty big day, to say the least. So, and I think Fritz is just I know Lincoln Riley gets all the publicity. I'm here to tell you, Willie Fritz is just as much of a coach as Lincoln Riley is. So
and you know what? Hey, I tell you on that one as well. Before we put a ball on it, I played some under 65. I'd still play under. If let's say Pratt and Williams.
That's good.
Worst case, I think that's one that there's no way it gets higher. So if Pratt's going to hit the portal and Caleb Williams isn't going to play, I think you'll see that total drop into the 50s.
So we can find 64 right now. I'll make that a best bet. I'm good with that.
No,
you
I
like
agree
that?
with that. Because to me, I like it even regardless.
That's a best bet. Good job, Knish. Because if Pratt's out, it's going to drop. If Caleb Williams gets announced out officially, it's going to drop. So, and that's the game plan. If you're already liking Tulane, you know what the game plan is going to be. They're going to run the football. They're going to have success. They'll eat the clock. So, that you just talked me into it. In fact, after we got off the show, maybe during the show, I'm up higher in the bed there. So that's really good by you. Thank you. That's why I love doing this show. Is there anything else? I mean, full disclosure for me, I bet almost every bowl game already. Again, that doesn't mean that that's going to end up being the strongest position for me on that particular game. I'll mention a couple that I bet. Believe it or not, I think the market gets too cute sometimes. I lead 4.5 with Alabama. Even if Bryce Young doesn't play, it's just still Dallas Turner's playing on defense. Maybe Will Anderson isn't. I know they might not be motivated, but I mean, I just remember a couple of years ago, a Michigan game in a bowl game, Alabama didn't have anything to play for. Market got cute. Everyone in, the sharps were betting Michigan. It got down to 7. And I mean, Michigan played an amazing first half. We're leading at halftime, and Alabama still won the game by 16. I mean, it's just, even if their backups are playing, you're still talking 4- and 5-star players against Kansas State. So, look, do I think that's the sharpest bet on the board? No, but I'm just here to tell you, I'm a little contrarian there. You're telling me that I'm an idiot and you have Kansas State +8 at 5 times.
That's actually one I agree with. I tried to get as many as I could in yesterday. That's one I left off because I think you could see so many guys opt out for Alabama, but then as you're saying, like on the surface, would I bet Kansas? You're thinking about just like hypothetically, like so much of that is baked into that number already, right? Like if Kansas State and Alabama played on a neutral and they were playing on a regular season game, then it was 4. It'd be like the biggest bet of the season on Alabama, right? So do I want to get too involved there? And Bowling Green as a minus
3. Yeah, that I see that.
As that pops here, and we're both trying to run and grab as much there. I actually kind of tend to agree with that.
Bowling Green should be favored. I was just trying to get a nice position there, but it's already gone. It's moving. They are opening sharp numbers, so I mean, we'll probably wrap this up in the next 5 to 10 minutes because I do not want to miss some of these. Trip in the chat. Tennessee +6 at Caesars. I made that bet yesterday. I know there's going to be some disagreement there. How much is Hendon Hooker worth? The offensive coordinator's gone for Tennessee. Cade Klubnik's going to give Clemson new life. I still think that's priced into that line and then some. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Tennessee's laying a touchdown in this game. So +6. You disagree with that?
No. So this is interesting. I got some word from some groups that move stuff that they were gonna go hard on Clemson today. It gets faked down at open. And then they come back full double fisted on Clemson. I agree. Like it was one of those that I didn't, again, when I got the info, I took a small position on Clemson. But now that it's getting 6 and 7, it's like I can't get there. Even if some of the Tennessee wide receivers opt out, I can't get to this Clemson team. It's not like the Clemson team's not going to have opt outs. And I don't know. I think like one game, Cade Klubnik against one of the worst Power 5 defenses in the country, like. We saw Cade Klubnik in multiple games this year, and he was very people are like, oh, Dabo, why didn't he play him? He tried to play him in 4 or 5 different games, and he wasn't very good. Right, so it's I don't know. I'm not going to say that this Clemson offense and Clemson is magically fixed because one performance against a North Carolina team that played over their head for 8 weeks. So yeah, I'm with you.
We lean under.
Yeah, I agree with you. I lean under there, and the number, I'm probably going to let it marinate a little bit, but hey, I would definitely be on Tennessee at a touchdown.
Fair enough. Let's talk Army-Navy. I forgot. That is
the troops, baby.
I'm anxious to see what you think on this. Obviously, I was tweeting this out this morning about the under streak and whatnot, 16 in a row, and having some fun tweets there. But reality is, at the start of this streak, the total was being traded in the 50s, some instances the high 50s. Now it's being traded at the lowest point in this streak. It's now 17 years at 33. And at the current number of 33, the over would be 9 and 7 the last 16 years. So I'm going to take another contrarian approach. I lean over 33. I think it's a point of no return. You're going to tell me I'm an idiot for playing against the streak, but I mean, over 33 would be my lean on this game.
No, honestly, this is one of those where, like, people quote the total trends in this game, and it just makes you want to jump off a fucking roof. Because, like, yes, when these trends started, the total, as you said, like the totals would open in and again, I loved betting those totals when they would open them in the 50s and the high 40s and that.
Yeah.
For the most part, now I don't really get involved in these like I know.
I forgot you don't like Service Academy football. You're anti-American.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me. Listen, I only like Service Academy football when Jim Harbaugh's running it. So like I try like these totals. I agree with you that they're now set either properly or even a little low, and I know some of them are still going under, and then everybody that's bet under, comes back to celebrate. Then we told you, 30-2 in the last 32, easiest bet of the year. I just don't get it, and now that they're in the the mid to low 30s. I just don't get involved. I think the bet, honestly, in this game, this traded in the look-ahead markets, like most of the year, Navy was like a significant dog for most of the year. So I've got a pretty sizable position on Navy at a bunch of different numbers. I think they're the better team still. I know it's down to pick. I think they're going to close a slight fave, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's all I got on that one. I am not going to touch the total, but I agree with you that like I'll be rooting for over just so the people that
I agree.
Under's free money can shut the hell up.
I agree with that. FCS, do you bet FCS?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you a position I took. Sanford's quarterback, I think, got hurt last week's game. So I did lay early number 14 on North Dakota State. So keep an eye on that. That was it. I mean, I bet a ton of FCS, and I thought the numbers were at least sharper than what they typically are. We'll see that there's overreaction in that market. Once one person fires a bet, the market likes to overreact. So I don't want to give away too much as far as me, because I tend to like to dummy some stuff up in that market, because I have flagged accounts in certain books that react to a small bet, and they'll move it 1.5, and then I'll come over the top. So I am okay sharing the North Dakota State. I think that's the right side. What about yourself?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we talked about I think South Dakota. We talked about South Dakota State futures when they were at like 225 and 2-1. It's a little lower than that. They have just the best pathway to get to the final, and they're going to be favored in every game. And they know they're not going to lose the Holy Cross this weekend.
No, they'll hammer Holy Cross.
Yeah, in the semis. And so, to me, I still think there's value there where they're going to get to the final, and then no matter who it is, they're going to be at worst a short favorite against anybody. So I still like South Dakota. I mean, I've loaded up myself there on 2-1 or better on them to win it. So I think worst case they're getting to the final, and then you can trade it a bit. So yeah, I still like them there if you can find 2-1.
Patrick Burns in the comments asked Sam Hartman to enter the portal. Something was off with Wake late in the year. I agree with that, and I've also heard whispers about him being in the portal. So how does that affect betting now? Probably, makes me want to bet Missouri, and I can tell you I've already taken Missouri plus 3.5. Threes are available. I'm looking across the board pretty much right now. Even at 3, I would lean more Missouri there. I mean, when in doubt, Missouri is the more talented team. So, I mean, I get plus 3. I love Dave Clawson. I like Sam Hartman, but, I think Missouri's excited to be there. If you don't believe me, watch the end of the Arkansas game and how they celebrated getting to bowl eligibility. So, anything there? Did you bet?
Actually, I'm with you on a small play on the Missouri 3.5. There's actually still a smattering. Again, 3s everywhere. A couple of 3.5 still around. I'm with you. I think that again, you're getting Missouri as they played up to a lot of good teams this year. So
they did
run that what's Wake Forest not going to is that defense going to be able to stop the Missouri run game in that to me? And also this is one Missouri isn't really at risk for this opt out that's going to move the line 4, 5, 6 points. You might get a couple of guys. Wake Forest is. So if you see Hartman opt out, this is going to flip to Missouri fave here. So take a Missouri position now, and then hey, if we get some lucky portal news, you'll be sitting on a really good number.
Yeah, and that would be probably a good suggestion. I mean, if you're hearing any sort of whispers, look, I mean, not all of them are going to come to fruition, but might as well take a position now, because I'm here to tell you it's not going to 3.5. Now Missouri, I think they had a wide receiver, love it. Hit the portal already. That Burdenkin might. So they might be down a little bit there. But, I mean, every team, again, I go back to it. I can see any line in any game move 3, 4, 5, 6 points. So I think best case is to actually anticipate the worst for all these teams. So who does have more depth, and who am I going to lean towards in that regard? Well, I mean, go look at recruiting rankings. I mean, I hate to tell you, they're not everything, and they're not the end all, the be all, but the teams that have more depth are probably going to be a little bit better positioned to have success in bowl games. Washington in the chat, Stephen Robinson, Washington, Texas over 65. Yeah, I could see that. I full disclosure, I haven't bet. That's one game, one of the very few bowls I haven't bet yet. Have you bet that one?
Nope, didn't take a position there. Saw again with Penix coming back, kind of with lean that way. Bet East Carolina. If you haven't bet East Carolina, you should probably. We just talked about that. I'm actually fired. Circa just opened 11, so going to fire.
Yeah, we're gonna. Jesus. Yeah, we're gonna. You know what? I think that's going to wrap it up here because we are losing opportunities here because the market's going to react. So with that, unless you got anything else that you want to touch, keep in mind, guys, hit the subscribe button, follow us on Twitter. We are going to be doing a bunch of bowl games. So next Monday, we're going to talk. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk more bowl games. We'll talk big line moves. We'll give out more best bets and whatnot. So do you have anything else?
No, I think that I agree with you. We're good to wrap it there. We'll come back when we get some more. Obviously next week should have some more concrete information and be able to kind of give us a little bit more what's current here on this bowl games.
Yeah. So again, before we talk Circa Sports here, best bets for us: Tulane USC under the total, under 64, and before it moved because you guys are watching and you have faith in us and confidence, LSU minus 6.5 is also a best bet. I'd still lean 7. I think it closes at least 7.5. That's just a FYI there. So that is going to do it for Joey Knish. I'm Brad Powers. Keep in mind, you've been watching Hit the Books on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. You can bet like pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. It's Circa Sports. Experience the big app bets, highest betting limits, better money line splits, lowest hold percentage, best customer service, and a whole hell of a lot more. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com.